folks, Will here again with Happily Ever Outdoors. So in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the Gerber Decree Tactical Folding Knife. So just to clarify, before we take a look at this knife, I'm going to tell you right now, this is not what you would call a bushcraft or a survival knife. This is a tactical folder. This is primarily designed really with military and first responder type folks in mind. This is a tactical blade. So keep that in mind. This isn't going to be exactly geared towards making feather sticks and things like that, although it will work for that type of stuff to a certain extent. That's not the primary design of this knife. It's a tactical knife. With that being said, I think this is a really nice tactical folder for the price. Now if you go on gerbergear.com, it looks like the MSRP on this thing right now is $109, but the actual street price, most of the places I found online, you can get it for under 60 bucks easy. So at that price point, $55 being exactly what I paid for it, it's a really great deal. Now this is made from S30V steel, so it's good stuff. It's got Gerber's kind of signature ceramic coating on the blade. You can see Gerber likes to stamp Made in the USA on there, Portland, Oregon, and it also tells you what kind of steel it is right there on the blade itself. This is a blade with serrations, as you can see, as well as a straight edge. Now this is what Gerber refers to as a modified Tanto point on there. You can see normally like a regular Tanto point would have that hard edge right there, that hard angle. So you've got kind of that same shape, but they've smoothed that out so it's rounded out, which I think is a really nice tip. I can see where this would definitely have some good stabbing power, but it's also a little more practical. You can really use that belly right there. You gotta be careful. This is very sharp, but you can use that belly depending on what you're doing for cutting stuff, and it works really well. It gives you a little more detailed control. It also features a glass-filled nylon handle with a rubber overmold on it. You can see it's got a nice deep pocket clip on there. Now the only fault with this pocket clip, and it's actually a little bit loose right now, I found in the couple weeks that I've had this knife carrying it every day, that clip tends to loosen up. Those screws aren't in there very good, and I've been meaning to get some stuff to put in there, you know, to thread lock those in there so it'll stop slipping back out. But that is something that I ran into right off the bat. And I mean, honestly, when I looked at the size of the screws, as soon as I took it out of the packaging, I said, yeah, that's going to loosen up over time. But as far as that clip is concerned, though, it is very nice. It is very sturdy, other than those screws trying to back out. You can see it does have a spot there where you can reverse this clip as well, depending on how you'd like to carry it, whichever way feels better in your pocket to you, whether you like to have kind of the heavy folded end down, or if you'd like to have the back of the handle going down into your pocket. Another feature you can see right here is the glass break, which they have integrated into the end of the handle right here. So if you were to hold the knife like this, whether it's open or closed, you could use that potentially to break through a window or something like that in an emergency situation. Or if it was something where you got into hand-to-hand combat, I'm sure that would be pretty effective if you just butted somebody up against the side of the head or in the face with that. It would be enough to really stun them. It would not feel too good at all, and it would disorient them. You can also see that it does have a small lanyard hold built into the end of it that really could be a little bit bigger. You're going to be able to get a length of paracord through there okay, but I'm not sure exactly why they made it so tight. But you know, it would still work if you did want to put some kind of a lanyard on there. A couple things I really like about the design of this knife. Number one, you've got this flipper right here, which works really well to allow you to deploy this knife with one hand once you get familiar with this. Now this is not spring loaded, it's not spring assisted, it's not an automatic knife. So having that little flipper there, again, once you get used to the motion of it, whether you're holding it up or you're holding it straight out or you're holding it pointed down, you can open that easily with one hand. So very nice to see that. And when it does deploy, by the way, this is you've got a very slight wiggle here, kind of up and down, but really nothing at all side to side, so it's very tight. You do have thumb studs there as well to give you a little more control. As you can see, this knife can be closed one-handed as well. Just be careful doing that for obvious reasons, so you don't cut yourself or get your finger chewed on by the serrations right there. Now, one thing I almost forgot to mention about this blade also is the fact that it is a liner lock knife, which, if you're not familiar, means that the mechanism that actually holds the blade in place is that when you open the blade, the liner on one side moves itself behind the blade, and that's what locks it in place. So in order to close it, you have to push that liner back over to the side, and then that'll allow you to fold the blade back into the handle. Okay, so just to wrap up the specs for you guys, this knife has a weight of 4.8 ounces and a closed length, as you see it right here, of 5.1. It also has a open length of 8.7 inches as well as a blade length of 3.7 inches. So plenty big enough to give you a lot of knife to work with. A good surface area as far as serrations are concerned, while still leaving you a nice, long, straight edge to work with. And this knife is great because it's a little bit bigger maybe than what some people are used to carrying for an EDC, but in my mind it's just the right size. It's big enough without being too big. So what are my thoughts on the Gerber Decree? I think this is a really, really nice folder. In my mind, this is a great EDC blade. Now, I'm in the military, the U.S. Army to be specific, and so I like having something that is big enough to where it would be useful if it was some kind of a tactical situation, or, Lord forbid I had to use it to defend myself. But it's not so huge or so ridiculous that, I'm going to whip it out to cut open a box while I'm at work and, people freak out. It's just that right size in my mind. Now, it might be a little big for some people. Again, look at the closed length on it, over 5 inches. So, if you put this in your front pocket using the clip, it's going to pretty well fill that pocket top to bottom. Not side to side, but I mean, it's going to go the full depth of your pocket. So, it's a good size folder. But again, it's not huge and it's not heavy, which is nice. Now, I know some folks who watch my channel aren't going to be a fan of the serrations, and I get that. If you're looking at it from like a bushcraft type perspective, a lot of people would rather just have that straight edge. But from a tactical perspective, when you're thinking about you may end up having to cut through paracord or cut through nylon strap, you may end up having to cut a tactical vest or a rucksack off of somebody's back, whatever. So you want to have those serrations. So if that's something that you don't like, unfortunately, this folder, there's no option to get it without serrations. So you can take it or leave it as far as that's concerned. You might have to look at a different folder if serrations really are a deal breaker for you. But for me, I don't mind it. And again, they give you enough surface area on the straight edge that you've still got plenty of straight edge to work with as far as cutting and slicing is concerned. And speaking of that edge, I gotta let you guys know, this thing comes crazy sharp out of the box. I mean, insanely hair-popping sharp. I was really, really surprised how good of an edge it had on it right out of the packaging. And on top of that, I've had this thing for a few weeks now, I guess about 2 weeks. And again, I use it, every day I carry it with me. So I use it for a lot of utilitarian purposes, cutting open boxes, things like that, that can tend to dull down a blade, and it still is hair-popping sharp. In fact, let me see if I can show that to you real quick. And you guys can see that's just absolutely effortless. And again, I have not sharpened this at all. After about 2 weeks of using it out of the box, not a single stroke with a sharpening stone or anything like that on this blade, and it is still, as best I can tell, just as sharp as it was when I first opened it. So overall, I think this is just a really good all-around knife. I mean, the grip is super comfortable, and for me, the size is just perfect because it has a long enough handle without being too huge, and it's got, contours in all the right places. It's got a great grip to it. I mean, it's super nice texture on it. It really, really gives you a firm, solid grip. By the way, I don't think I mentioned earlier, there is some jimping there that you can see on the back of the handle there. So that gives you a little extra grip, a little traction too, depending on, what you're trying to do with the knife to give you that little bit of leverage. And it does have a nice finger choil there as well. And you can see where that flipper that was in the back over there, it flips around to the front and it kind of extends that choil. So really smart the way they contour it. There's nothing there really that's gonna, you know, eat at your hand or anything like that. The only thing I might say is that you can see where that liner lock is, and it comes into that choil. You can feel that a little bit. I've never noticed. I haven't had it really like, you know, dig into my finger at all, but I'm almost wondering if you were doing something really aggressive, you know, where you were stabbing or something like that, if that might bite into your finger a little bit. I'm not sure. So they probably could have designed that maybe a little bit better, so it's a little bit smoother right there. But other than that, the whole grip is really, really super comfortable, really ergonomic, and it feels really good in your hand. Again, I really like the design of the blade. It's just got a nice curve to it. It's very practical, very easy to use for utilitarian type purposes while still being suitable for tactical situations. It's got a nice look to it. You can see a little bit of a cutout there to the spine, you know, but there's nothing too super aggressive, too over the top or flashy. Just a very nice, clean, practical design. Now, there's a lot of folks out there with mixed feelings on Gerber right now, and I get it. They went through a couple of rough years there. Their quality really wasn't what it should be, but they've come a long ways, and this knife right here is a great example of that. If you're able to pick it up in the same price range I did, under 60 bucks, I mean, you're going to be really, really hard-pressed to find a folding knife with this high quality of steel and this nice of a design for that money. There just really aren't that many out there. And on top of that, the fact that it's made in the USA, right here in Portland, Oregon, I love that. You guys know I'm a big fan of that. And then you get Gerber's limited lifetime warranty with that as well. So that's really, really great. So this is just a really great all-around tactical folder, a great EDC, a knife that I've really come to love and appreciate in the few weeks that I've had it so far. And I know it's one that I'm really, really confident that I'm going to get a lot of years of use out of it. I don't think I'm going to get tired of this knife anytime soon. So an awesome EDC. This would also be great to go into a bug out bag or an emergency kit. Also a really great knife for hikers. You know, me, I love hiking, I love the outdoors, but I have that military background, so I kind of naturally gravitate towards some of the more tactical stuff. So I know some of the folks who maybe don't have a military background, you know, this might not be an area they really delve into. They might be looking at, you know, some other more, you know, mainstream knives or a lot of like hunting knives and stuff like this. But if you find a good tactical folder like this, it goes really well into that realm as well, because it's just a great durable blade, great steel, got a good cutting edge on it. You've got serrations you can use if you ever need to cut through anything a little bit thicker, a little bit rougher, and it's just something that's you know, fits easy in your pocket. It's not too huge, it's not big and flashy, it's not going to draw a lot of attention to yourself or, you know, freak out other hikers or park rangers or anything like that. And when you need a decent knife to work with, you don't have to pull out some tiny little, you know, dinky knife, and you don't have to carry like a huge fixed blade with you either. It's a great in-between that gives you a bigger knife that'll be, you know, able to handle some of those other kind of a little bit heavier tasks while you're out there on the trail. So I definitely encourage you guys to check it out. Again, this has been my review of the Gerber Decree Tactical Folding Knife. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Feel free to leave your comments and questions below, and make sure you subscribe to our channel.